Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Marion County Children's Services Podcast. My name is Elizabeth Moore. I'm the Foster Care and Community Engagement Coordinator. And here with me today, I have Betsy. Betsy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Betsy Abbott. I am the coordinator of the Victim Assistance Program.
Awesome. And so we're going to just go ahead and dive right in. We were just talking before we started the recording that you guys have such an amazing program, and it's probably one that a lot of people in Marion just don't know about. So do you want to give a little bit of information on what your agency does to serve Marion?
Yeah, so we're the Victim Assistance Program. We assist any victim of any crime of any age. So that can be from a misdemeanor crime, from a theft, a criminal damaging, telephone harassment, domestic violence, all the way to a felony crime, sexual assault, felonious assault, a felony domestic violence, homicide, anything in between there. So, and then we have a kids program for kids. So that's always helpful for our community. A lot of times when kids have been a victim of crime or been traumatized, they're not able to get into counseling right away. So we're able to meet with the child once a week or once every couple weeks and kind of go over feelings and how to deal with different feelings, the court case if there is an open criminal case, and then help with community resources with the family. So it's definitely a program that is very much used for our kids.
So I'm going to kind of jump around because I feel like you just touched a little bit on like how obviously we partner because you talked a little bit about kids. And one of the things that you have told me, so I've known about Victims Assistance Program for a long time. Because I was an intake worker. And then when I came back to the agency, you and I got to touch base again. And I had asked you, remember in the hallway, like, hey, do you get a lot of referrals from us anymore? And you said, no. And here's why. We had that whole conversation. But one of the things you mentioned to me that has really stuck with me is that some of these kids can't get into counseling.
Right.
So do you want to touch on that for a minute?
Yeah, many times if there's an open criminal investigation or case, they're not able to get into counseling. And I don't really know the reasons why for sure of that. I think a lot of it has with the legality of it in an open criminal case. So since we're not licensed counselors, we're able to meet to talk about feelings. We have the TRI program's art-based.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of activities, talk about our feelings, and then we can also prep for court. So making sure that the child is prepared when it's time to go to court. We can go to the courtroom beforehand, make sure the child understands all the different players in the courtroom. Many times they've never been through this before. And it's really nerve-wracking. It's really nervous to go to court. So
I can only imagine from a child's standpoint.
yes. Yeah. I mean, we have adults that we do the same program with. We check in with them weekly, help with community resources, get them ready for court. And then we have our little people that we take a little extra time on.
Little people with big feelings.
Yes.
And probably don't know how to process through all of them.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what is your role specific in there? How many people are in your office? I think this is important too.
There's two of us. So there's myself and there's Courtney Rittenauer. I am the coordinator of victim assistance, but I'm also a victim advocate. Courtney is a victim advocate. So even though I have the responsibilities of our grant writing and reporting and that type of thing, we both are hands-on with victims every day. And with just the two of us, we are able to serve between 700 and 800 Marion County victims of crime a year. So
wow,
we are very busy.
Yeah.
Some of those victims is like a one-time conversation or sending notification to court, that type of thing. And some can last, a year, 2 years, depending on the type of victimization. But yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, phenomenal.
It's a lot, yeah. And it's kind of hard to believe that many people pass through.
With just the two of you.
Yes, yeah. And we do assist a lot of people out of Marion Municipal Court, misdemeanor crimes. that's probably where our focus is at, is making sure that misdemeanor crime victims are notified of court hearings, they know their rights, they're able to file for victims compensation or restitution, for being a victim of crime,
Hmm.
filing protection orders, civil stalking protection orders, a lot of various services. We also have door locks and window alarms for our victims to utilize. So yeah, when we look at the final stats and it's, anywhere between 700 and 800, it's like, wow, where did all these people come from? I don't feel like we've touched that many people throughout the year, but yeah, it is definitely pretty fast paced.
Wow. And I think one really cool thing, if you would just mention, is how long have you and Courtney been doing this?
So a long time.
Mhm.
This year, 2021, I will be here 18 years, and Courtney will be here 8. So I was here 10 years when I became the coordinator. So my old coordinator, who was Judy Mount, um, she retired. I took her position, and Courtney took my position. We just kind of switched. We moved along. So yeah, it's been we've been together for quite a long time, and it's a good team.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how I obviously and I've explained this several times, but I have a standard set of questions I
Yeah.
send to everybody, and this is one that probably needs worded a little bit for you. But how do people get involved with the Victims Assistance Program?
Majority of them come through referrals from law enforcement. When law enforcement meet with them, they're really good about referring to us. Um, our other is Marion Municipal Court. Since we do a lot of stuff, serve a lot of victims in municipal court, our law director's office gives us a lot of people. Um, but what I have found is a lot of it in all these years is word of mouth. It's family and friends who have, had something bad happen to them, and then somebody else does, and they're like, "Hey, these people help me," and just passing it along to other people.
Yeah, and I can only imagine. I was thinking about also what you had said about providing people with the door alarms and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I think you, if nothing else, are giving a lot of peace of mind to some of these victims.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of times they're coming to us when they've experienced one of the worst days or times of their life. And so we definitely, when we first meet them, have to assess kind of what is a need right now. Um, they've obviously experienced a lot of trauma. There's a lot of things that have happened, but what can we do right now to try to alleviate some of that pressure, stress?
Mm.
So whether that's giving them the door locks or something that makes them feel a little safer, um, or filing for victims compensation that helps cover, some out-of-pocket medical wages or lost wages, because if you can't go to work because you're a victim, and that creates a whole nother stress.
Wow.
And then kind of just moving down the line as to what we can do to help them.
So some of those are things I never even knew existed before
Hmm.
you just said that. And then I also think about another benefit for anyone who's listening is just the fact that all of the knowledge that you would have from working in this field for 18 years and kind of navigating the system and having all that, it's probably invaluable. So what kind of cost is this for people?
Our program is free. All of our services are free. Victims compensation is a program through the Ohio Attorney General's office. We simply have the applications to help fill out.
Wow.
And it's free to do that. It's free to file protection orders. Yeah, and you say, like, with 18 years, the knowledge, but I feel like I'm always learning something. Every time that I think that I've got this under control, then somebody asks me for something and I'm like, I don't know. So I'm always learning, especially community resources, figuring out who has what and who's able to give what, is always a learning experience. I try hard. Courtney and I both try really hard to stay up on it so that when we get a call, we don't say, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it happens, and we're constantly learning new ways to assist our victims.
Well, probably too, because every situation is unique. And so
It
what
is.
works with one person, someone else might have a different need.
Yeah, it is. And every time that, you think you're like, gosh, is there anything else that could happen that, I feel like I've seen it all. you haven't. It comes up and you got to figure out how to work through that.
All right. So how does your organization, which I know we touched a little bit on this already, but how does that fit into child protection? So maybe just kind of summarizing some of that stuff.
Yep. Well, I think for child protection, the TRI program is probably our number one. Children's Services has always been a huge supporter of the TRI program and us working with kids that have been through trauma.
Does TRI stand for something?
It does. Sorry, it's Trauma Response Intervention.
Okay.
So it's TRI. Yeah, and even with victim assistance, sometimes you'll see a VAP on various material, things like that. So it is called VAP if somebody would happen to say that. I think also we're available not just for the child, but for the family. Sometimes once, you know, your agency is involved in something, it's not just the child that's suffering, it's, you know, everyone around there, in trying to navigate everything, especially the court system with them is, I think it's beneficial to have an advocate with you.
Great. Well, do you have anything else that you would like to add for anyone who's listening to know about Victims Assistance Program?
Well, we're located in City Hall. I don't know how many people know where we're at. We used to be down the road at Mac West, it was an old hotel. We were there for many, many, many years. So we've only been in City Hall for about 4 years. We're in the basement of the police department. So you would just come in the front doors, take the elevator to the basement, and we have a little doorbell there to ring. We are, as of March 1st of 2020, we are a program of the Marion County Sheriff's Office. So they are our grant holder, our grant administrator, but then we're located in the basement of City Hall. Victim assistance is fully grant funded through federal, state, and local money. One of the questions I get asked almost all the time is it tax dollars? It is not. So just, you know, to be clear, just want everyone to know how we're funded. Yeah, and there's just 2 of us for all of these Marion community.
Doing a great job too for 700 to 800 people a year. So, and then of course all of the people that you know impact through those people. So
yeah.
Well, since you said you have watched an episode, I usually feel a lot less guilty than asking my unprompted question. But what I'll do is I'll ask you the question and then I'll talk to everybody for a minute and then I'll come back to you for you to answer it. But basically one of the things, especially for someone who's been doing this for 18 years, what is it that keeps you working in this field? What is it that makes you want to work with victims and have that passion and that desire? Because you have to have a passion to work with people that long. So while Betsy's thinking about her answer to that question, like she said, this is a program that's available to anyone who's been a victim of a crime. It is fully grant funded and obviously a great resource in our community for at least the 700 to 800 people a year that they have helped, as well as the family members and community members that they have touched through those 700 to 800 people a year. So amazing work considering that there are only 2 people. That is crazy. So I am so thankful for the work that you guys have done. I know when I was an intake worker and anytime I would refer kids to you guys, it was just phenomenal. And all of the family loved it, loved the services that you were providing. So I know just from that experience how great and necessary your resource is. So with all of that being said, what is it that keeps you in this field?
I think it's the community. It's Marion. I'm born and raised in Marion, from Marion. I was hired from the hired here at Victim Assistance right after college. I had no intentions of staying this long. It was, you know, one of those things that I didn't even know what Victim Assistance was. I had no idea what they even did. And the longer I've been here, the more I love my work. I love my job and the community, just working with the people and helping everyone and just being a part of Marion, I think is probably the best part of the whole job.
I mean, I have to agree with you. I think Marion is just great. So I am a
Yeah.
self-proclaimed nerd for Marion. So hey, I that actually just made me think of another question. Is Victims Assistance Program unique to Marion, or are there other programs in other areas?
So all 88 counties in Ohio have victim advocates.
Okay.
Majority of them are prosecutor-based advocates. Marion does have a prosecutor, a felony prosecutor-based advocate, Amber Kyle. Um, so majority counties have prosecutor-based. There are some that have law enforcement-based advocates, which is what we would be considered now,
Okay.
with being under the sheriff's office. When we were under the Marion Area Counseling Center prior to being with the sheriff's office, we were community-based. And at that time, there was only like 2 or 3 community-based victim assistance advocacy centers in the state of Ohio. So we were very unique for quite a long time. But yeah, even with being under the sheriff's office, all the work that we do in municipal court, I think is fairly unique to Marion.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Betsy. I really appreciate your time. You have definitely shared a lot, and hopefully a lot of people have learned something about Victims Assistance Program. If you have any questions, I will have their contact information linked in the description of the video, and as well as a link to your Facebook page. And as always, have a great week.
Thank you. You too.